Hi, I'm Peony Wu, Chief Customer Officer at Mox Bank in Hong Kong.
Hi, my name's Nick Wilde and I'm the Managing Director of Thought Machine in Asia Pacific. So like many people in Thought Machine, I'm an engineer by background. It's been a really long time since anybody let me near a keyboard, and I think the world is better off for that. I still like to build things though, and in this case, the opportunity to build the Asia Pacific organization for what I see as one of the world's leading fintechs is me living the dream, as my Australian friends would say. It's not to say it doesn't have its tougher moments and the times where you kind of reflect on whether you've made whether you're the right person for the job, but you know, having the opportunity to build an organization from scratch and handpick the team for something that I think is so worthwhile is definitely what gets me out in the morning.
So for me, actually, it's the smell of coffee, to be honest, because I'm an early person. And at the same time, while I'm enjoying the aroma, I will be reading all the customer comments from the app stores, looking through the customer contact center comments as well. I think it's so important to understand what customers are telling us, from the service level satisfaction to the nitty-gritties of some of the buttons that we've designed within the app. So that actually helps a lot in terms of prioritizing a lot of the work on a daily basis, and then see how we can continue to enhance the experience. So I would say that I'm sure you would enjoy going to Disneyland or go to a candy shop. So essentially you will find the rides or the candy flavors that you love. So what I do is essentially to give you the experiences and the items that you like and that you would enjoy. So working for a bank essentially is all about money management. So building your own piggy bank. So this is what I do, and I hope that in terms of the experiences, I can always listen to what you are enjoying, and also what for example, whether it's Toy Story or the Marvel characters, so I can embed that into the overall experience.
So trying to pick up on that excellent analogy, I would say that the organization that Peony has built, which listens to you and makes sure you're able to buy your favorite candy and watch your favorite shows, we help Peony build the organization that the technology that allows that to happen. My particular role in that is to build the organization that provides our customers with that with that capability. So that includes the people who can help Peony and her team understand what our solution is capable of, help them make the most of it, and then help make sure that it operates in the most efficient and effective manner.
Great question. For us here at Mox Bank, essentially all we do is about putting customer at the center of everything. So we are customer obsessed. So when we first designed our day one proposition, actually we talked to over 4,500 potential customers just to understand what are their pain points and their needs in terms of banking services. So that helped us actually shape the way we design our day one proposition, which is around smart banking, smart saving, and smart spending. So with that, I think the important thing, again, going back to how can we collect a lot of the customer transactional behaviors, but at the same time, inject a sense of what preferences and interest level that the customers are able to tell us, so we can predict what would be the next services or the next iteration that we can give to the customers. So I think the next big thing for our customers or for the organization in terms of customer experience is really the ability to predict and anticipate what our customers are looking for. So around that can help us actually increase the future lifetime value of the customers, because we can retain them better and we can build the loyalty continuously. So I think the notion of data analytics, where we can predict and do the relevant modeling, would be very, very important for us.
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely agree. I think the big move that I see, and the reason I'm sort of excited to be part of Thought Machine is banks moving to become a customer's financial partner rather than the utility for money transactions. And clearly that's already happening, and Mox is genuinely on the at the leading edge of how that actually happens. I mean, the fact that the Mox card is tightly coupled to an account, and that account allows a customer, each individual customer, to define their own savings goals and their rules, and offers spend analysis amongst other things. It's kind of like a Swiss Army bank account, the Swiss Army knife bank account. It helps customers control their money. So if you take that, what's the next big thing? It's going to be that sort of extended drastically, enabled by the data-centric stack that a bank like Mox is built on, and really extend the best of what analytics and AI can do to make real-time recommendations based on the customer's actual behavior, and doing things like gamifying certain aspects of banking to help them reinforce good money habits. Which we can all go with. I mean, do what Mox has done, extend it. So go all in on integrated products, incredibly configurable, truly customer centric, rather than the suite of products that most banks have, and they make us fit, into how those products work. An account that combines the capabilities you need to spend and save and bank and invest without having to deal with multiple of them and apply for each of them individually. I think one of the myths that I've learned as I've worked with various organizations through my career, and customer centricity is an oft-used phrase, but customer centricity, as I observe it, isn't asking customers what they want, because most of us don't know kind of what we want in any particular area. In actuality, it's giving them what they need, even if they don't realize it until they see it. So there's the old Henry Ford quote about, if I'd asked my customers what they need, they'd have asked for faster horses. And Steve Jobs was also famous for saying that he wasn't going to ask customers what they needed, he was going to tell them. But I think that the key is that the approach that both Thought Machine and Mox have taken, right? So spend a lot of time with your target customer. Gain insights into their habits, their routines, the jobs they need to be done, but especially pay attention to their frustrations. Now, it's a lot more work than just sort of doing a survey and asking them what they want. But I think it's the mechanism that allows breakthroughs rather than just sort of incremental improvement. Paul Taylor isn't the first person in history to build a brand new core banking system with the latest technology, but he is thus far the only one that I know that asked, why its core has always been a black box that keeps a lot of the control of configuration and operation and that away from the bank itself, and constrains the bank from being able to innovate. And then with that observation has built the Vault platform that gives banks like Mox complete control over sort of product definitions through a low-code approach and a whole heap of other benefits that allows the insights that Peony and her team have generated to result in a different way of banking.
Yeah, just to complement on Nate's point, I think for us also there's another aspect that sometimes people would think customer experience is just one department's job. actually is all across the organization. For instance, if we are able to have the best sort of inquiry processing via the contact center, and also the way we are able to also share information with our customers, whether it's the weekly blog that we put up on our website or the content piece that we put onto the app itself. I think it's the overall experience that we are able to provide. So all of us here at Mox actually think and work like that. And also we work very closely with partners like Thought Machine, really looking into how we can make the brand actually stand out much better, especially with all the competitions. So I think in terms of how we can define clearly what the next services or the next features that we can introduce to our customers, the anticipation bit is important. Just to look at, how can we then inject that sort of customer centricity thinking into all things that we do, then we are able to create something that is fairly new in the market. For example, we're the first one here to introduce daily interest. We're the first one that have actually Go accounts in Hong Kong, where a customer would be actually encouraged to start their saving habit, and they are able to personalize their goals, and they would understand how long it would take them to achieve, for example, an education fund, or the next gadgets, for example, PS5 that they would like to purchase, stuff like that. So we make it really easy for customers. So the constant listening and to understand and also looking into their transactional behavior would really help us. And then this is all down to, from the engineers and to the service design lead, and then also the marketers within the organization would also think and act on a daily basis with the customer experience thinking hat on. I think a lot of us are talking about personalization, right? So how can we integrate all the data, all the AI, machine learning capability so that we can personalize the offer and content, etc. for our customers. I think in 10 years time, all this, we don't have to talk about it because it's already embedded in the smartness for the services that we have been able to deliver to the customers. And then it is going to be so intuitive that, the movie type of sort of like when you see the billboard, it will show something different and personalized to you. It will also live within the app itself. And I think for us at Mox, it will be something that would be truly the roadmap that we are going to put forward for our customers. So basically, we would be able to provide the type of insights, for example, whether it's a short-term contextual loan, or it is something around, investment tips, anything to do with growing our customers' money and help them to budget much better. I think from that angle, I don't think we would need to talk about that anymore because that is how we would be living and breathing in 10 years time. And I think that is the progress that also a lot of the organizations, the likes of us here at Mox and also with Thought Machine as well, that we are working towards that.
Yeah, I mean, I strongly agree with Peony. I don't think I've got anything else other than perhaps a couple of extensions on what you just talked about. But I think, redundant, antiquated in 10 years' time will be, please fill in this form with information you have already given us 5 or 6 times, which, the bank itself doesn't enjoy doing that, but, regulation and a whole bunch of other things causes that. I think we're seeing regulators around the world getting much, much more comfortable with technology and working with the banks to kind of in the interest of the consumer and reduce friction points. So I think, things like that will go away. I think, please, so you want to buy a house, please come into a branch and work with our, one of our assistants. I think, embedded banking will be the norm in 10 years' time, and virtually all of it will be done in real time. If you do need to consult somebody, it will be across video, because 5G or 6G or 7G or whatever we'll have by then will mean that that will be more than possible. So I think banking just becomes more and more and more embedded in the way that people live their lives. I've got a very sort of short one just to kick off. There was a story in the paper the other day here about a Starbucks where a customer who was deaf regularly goes in and is obviously used to interacting in society and gets through it. One of the baristas decided that they would learn sign language in order to make the person feel more comfortable. So that kind of thing for me is where good goes to great.
Great story. I think it's the level of extra step that any organization would take. I think for us here at Mox, we'll be having loads of customers enjoying our services, not just from a banking perspective, but also the lifestyle solutions that we are building for them. That will be good. I think the great part is that from a customer experience standpoint, we are able to formulate the organization and the business forward, not just on the product features design level, but really what is the vision that we would like to take in the next decade or so, looking at, again, helping customers to solve their problems in their daily lives, whether it's a small little things or it's actually they have great dreams that they would like to accomplish. So I think from a great standpoint is really, again, going back to how can we provide things that would be able to surprise the customers.